Hi friends! Welcome to Coloring Rugs, where we color beautiful pictures and listen to amazing stories. I'm super excited to have you here today. Today we'll be coloring a fun ocean scene. Look at this! There's a big blue ocean filled with colorful fish, tall seaweed, and playful algae floating in the water. We can see different types of fish, including tiny little fish, dogfish, and oh no, look! There's even a big scary shark swimming around. Do you think the shark wants to be friends with the other fish, or is he up to something else? Let's color and find out! Once upon a time, deep in the sparkling blue ocean, there lived all kinds of sea creatures. The ocean was their beautiful home, with swaying algae, tall seaweed, and colorful corals. Tiny fish, big fish, and even dogfish would swim freely, playing among the bubbles and plants. But there was one fish that everyone feared, Sharptooth the shark. Sharptooth was huge, with a mouthful of pointy teeth that could make even the bravest fish shiver. He roamed the ocean hunting for food, and all the small fish would quickly scatter whenever he came close. Tiny, the smallest fish in the ocean, was a bright blue fish with a shimmering tail. Though he was tiny, he had a heart as big as the ocean itself. Every day, Tiny would swim around with his friends, nibbling on bits of algae and playing in the gentle waves. But whenever Sharptooth came by, Tiny would dart behind rocks, hiding with the others. One day, the ocean was calm, and all the sea creatures were swimming peacefully. The dogfish were chasing each other playfully, and colorful fish danced around the coral reefs. But suddenly, Tiny heard a sound that made him freeze in fear. Whoosh! It was Sharptooth the shark, zooming through the water, his sharp teeth flashing. All the fish scattered, hiding behind seaweed and rocks, trembling in fear. Tiny, as fast as his little fins could go, swam toward a small cave. He squeezed inside, just barely escaping Sharptooth's hungry eyes. Tiny peeped out of his hiding spot, watching as Sharptooth prowled around, searching for his next meal. The big shark was chasing the smaller fish, his mouth snapping open and closed, but Tiny noticed something strange. Sharptooth didn't look happy. He wasn't swimming playfully or peacefully like the other fish. Instead, he looked angry and lonely. Tiny thought for a moment. Why is Sharptooth always chasing us? Maybe he's not just hungry. Maybe he's also sad. That night, after Sharptooth had finally swum away, Tiny gathered his fish friends together. They were all safe, but they were tired of being afraid every day. Tiny took a deep breath and said, I think we should try something different. What if instead of hiding from Sharptooth, we talk to him? The other fish gasped. Talk to Sharptooth? They cried. Are you crazy, Tiny? He'll eat us for sure. But Tiny shook his head. We always hide because we're scared, but maybe Sharptooth is just as scared as we are. We've never even tried to understand him. The other fish looked doubtful, but they trusted Tiny's kind heart. And so, the next day, Tiny decided to be brave. When Sharptooth came around again, instead of hiding, Tiny swam up to him. Sharptooth spotted Tiny and swam closer, his big shadow looming over the little fish. But Tiny didn't swim away. He stood his ground, even though his tiny heart was pounding. Hello, Sharptooth, Tiny said, his voice trembling a little. Sharptooth stopped in his tracks. He was surprised. No fish had ever spoken to him before. What do you want, little fish? Sharptooth growled, but his voice wasn't as scary as Tiny thought it would be. Tiny gulped but stayed calm. We're all afraid of you because you always chase us. But do you really want to hurt us, or are you just lonely? Sharptooth blinked in surprise. No one had ever asked him that before. Lonely? He mumbled. I don't know. Tiny swam a bit closer. You always swim alone. The other fish play together, but we never see you join them. Maybe instead of chasing us, you could be our friend? The big shark tilted his head, thinking, a friend? I've never had friends. I'm a shark. Aren't sharks supposed to be scary? Tiny smiled. Not if they don't want to be. Maybe you're only scary because you think that's the only way to be. But you don't have to be scary all the time. Sharptooth thought about it. It was true. He was always alone. He had never thought that being kind could make him feel better. Slowly he nodded. Maybe I could try being different. Tiny's heart soared with hope. Then come swim with us, he said. We won't be scared if you're kind. And so, for the first time, Sharptooth swam gently alongside the smaller fish. The ocean seemed brighter as Tiny and Sharptooth swam together, and soon all the other fish joined in. Sharptooth smiled for the first time in his life. He felt happy, and the other fish weren't afraid of him anymore. From that day on, Sharptooth the shark wasn't just the scariest fish in the ocean. He became the friendliest. He swam and played with the smaller fish, and though he was still big and strong, he learned that kindness could make him feel even stronger. And Tiny? Well, Tiny had shown everyone that even the smallest fish can make the biggest difference. Moral of the story, sometimes those who seem the scariest are just lonely. With kindness and courage, even the fiercest creatures can change. Don't be afraid to understand others. It can turn fear into friendship. Let's wrap up our coloring process, but before we finish, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up. Your support helps us continue creating more